Ray turned to the others and shouted, "I can see the town on the horizon. We should be in Masthead before sundown." Eve murmured to Skye, saying,
"It's about time. I thought Ray got us lost again."
The journey from the Nevada territory had been a long, hot, and dusty affair, and all the members of the Alonso Gang were looking forward to some well-deserved rest and relaxation. The mission to Nevada turned out to be another in a long line of wild goose chases. But sometimes, fate has a way of disrupting the best-laid plans of mice and men. As the party entered the lobby of the Excelsior Hotel, the owner greeted them and exclaimed,
"Mr. Alonso, it's good to see you again. A letter arrived for you this morning. It's from back east, from Boston."
Ray grabbed the large envelope and opened it with a single stroke of his trusty knife. His eyes lit up like it was Christmas. "It finally came," he said. "This is the final piece to the puzzle." "I know it is," Eve retorted.
"Oh no, here we go again. Another wild goose chase."
Skye interrupted and asked,
"Ray, is it the map you've been waiting for?"
"Yes," he replied. "Our target is Mount La Pointe. It's about an 8-day ride to the south." Eve responded defiantly, saying,
"I'm not going anywhere. Not until I've had a bath and a steak dinner."
Hello everyone, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club, welcoming you to the pilot episode of the 5th season of Alone in the Shadows of Brimstone. In a previous video, I outlined the changes that I'll be including in this latest season. If you'd like to check out that video, I'll leave a link for you in the description. Before we begin, I'd like to share a few new things that I've developed since that video was recorded. First off, there's a new pawn for the campaign map. One side shows a mounted rider, indicating that all posse members are mounted. On the other side is a hat and a boot, and that's going to indicate that the posse is unmounted and traveling by foot. It should look a little nicer than the old horse pawn that I was using in the previous videos. The next item involves the creation of the town traits chart that I spoke of in the previous video. I didn't think I'd finish it in time for this season, but its design went quicker than I anticipated. It's a D100 chart that will offer a small nuance to the town creation process. When creating a new town, a D100 is rolled and compared with the chart. And there's roughly a 1 in 4 chance of a trait appearing. And the traits will either give a benefit or a detriment when operating in that town, and that would be something that would continue on in that town throughout the campaign. We only roll once on the chart when the town is created. Incidentally, I've posted the new files at the BGG site in the City of the Ancients page in the files section, but unfortunately this chart was not finished in time to include it with that download, so I'll be doing that at a later time. I've taken care of most of the pre-game setup prior to the shooting of this video, as I've randomly created 3 heroes that will form the posse, along with their backstories and NPCs. Those characters were displayed in the introduction of this video, and I'll give you another look at them now. Our first hero is a rancher named Eve Thompson. She was born in the Midwest in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She gained the keywords practical and tradesman. Her practical ability allowed her to draw 2 starting items, and she was able to keep one of them, and she selected the weathered poncho. It's going to give her a +4 to health, and she's able to ignore weather effects. Her keyword of tradesman gave her a +1 to lore, so that boosted her lore up from 4 to 5. She's going to begin the campaign with a hunting rifle, has a range of 12, one shot, and +2 to damage, and that's going to go hand in hand with her rapid shot ability. Her starting upgrade was Home Remedies. Use 1 grit to heal D6 wounds from yourself or another hero on your map tile. That'll come in very handy. She's also going to start every adventure with 1 extra grit token than normal, so she'll begin this campaign with 2 grit. She's going to begin the campaign with $100 in cash, and she randomly selected bandages for her side bag token. She'll be riding a Rocky Mountain horse called Aurora, and unfortunately it has a trait called Tender, and that means that it's going to be -1 to all of the mount injury rolls that it must make, so that's somewhat of a negative. Next up is a Bandito named Reynaldo Alonso. He was born in the Northeast in upstate New York in Albany, and that gave him the keywords resourceful and politician. His resourceful ability gave him a +1 for his cash roll, and he'll start the game with $125 in cash. His politician ability will give him a +1 modifier when encountering NPCs. His personal item is a heritage locket that's going to give him +1 to combat, and that's going to raise his combat value up to 3. So he'll have 3 dice for hand-to-hand combat, which is great. He'll start the scenario with a pistol, and his upgrade was Explosives Expert. Use 2 grit to gain a dynamite token. You also gain a free attack once per adventure. Throw dynamite. Now normally dynamite is a ranged attack, but once per adventure we can use it as a free attack, which will come in very handy. He also has some extra starting gear, and that's the dynamite satchel. It's going to come with 2 dynamite tokens. It'll allow him to hold up to 5 sticks of dynamite, which is awesome. He also randomly drew bandages for his side bag token, and he'll be riding a Missouri Foxtrotter named Challenger. Now Challenger has the trait Aware that allows him to re-roll 1 die on cunning tests when resolving a travel hazard, which is great. Finally, we have a gunslinger named Skye Jones. She was also born in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes area in Chicago, Illinois. She also has the keywords Practical and Tradesman. Her practical ability allowed her to draw 2 starting items, and she kept Locket, which is +1 to Spirit, and +1 to all of her Catch Your Breath rolls, which will be great. Her Tradesman keyword allowed her to add +1 to her starting lore, so her lore will be at 3. She'll begin the campaign with the Old Lantern and a pistol, and her starting upgrade was Quick Draw. During the first turn of a fight, you are initiative 10 and may gain +1 shot with a single-handed gun, which is outstanding. Now she's going to be using the Gunslinger template, and she'll start each adventure with 6 rounds of Deadeye shot, and that gives +2 to damage. She'll begin the campaign with $100 in cash, a bottle of whiskey in her side bag, and she's going to be riding a Morgan named Bolt. Unfortunately, Bolt has a trait called Weak, and that forces her to re-roll any 6 results on all strength tests when resolving a travel hazard. Now we'll be starting this campaign in the town of Masthead, so I'm going to place the travel marker with the mounted side up in Masthead. That's where we're going to begin the campaign. I've also randomly chose 2 basic missions to start the campaign with. First one was Search Party, and these random campaigns are placed in the nearest adventure sites to the starting city. So in this case, the nearest locations would be Gregor's Gulch, that's 2 travel cycles. Camp Anderson would be 2 travel cycles, and Hellmouth would be 2 travel cycles. And I've randomly determined that the Search Party mission will be available in Gregor's Gulch, and the Seal the Gate mission will be available in the Hellmouth. In addition, I've created a special mission to open the campaign with, and it's entitled The Search for the Lost City of Sitlapili. This mission opens, as you saw in the prologue, with the posse having made their way to Masthead following an unproductive and grueling trip through the Nevada Badlands. In the backstory, Ray has spent years researching the whereabouts of a legendary lost city called Sitlapili. After putting the evidence together, he's finally received the final clue he needs, one that provides him with the definitive location, the butte known as Mount LaPointe. Let's take a closer look at the mission prerequisites. We begin by placing the quest token A on the indicated adventure location. So we will place quest token A in Mount LaPointe. This mission is not subject to normal mission completion rolls as long as the posse does not undertake another mission first, as only the Alonso Gang knows the site's approximate location. The journey will take 8 to 10 days just to reach the remote site, and an indeterminate amount of time to find the lost city's hidden entrance. Once inside, we'll need to find 2 clues to locate the venerable Hall of Treasures. The legend says that the city is guarded by the undead warriors, the reanimated corpses of the royal sentinels, cursed to guard the treasure for all eternity. Now let's take a closer look at the history of the town of Masthead, where we'll be starting our campaign. Masthead is located in the northern part of the county. It was established around 20 years ago, and it serves as the first stop for travelers that are arriving to Brimstone County from Utah and Nevada. The town is home to the now renowned Shooting Star Saloon. The establishment became famous after the town was besieged by strange flying beasts called hellbats. The cowardly men of the town ran in terror and were torn apart in the streets as they fled. However, the local saloon girls, led by a courageous and spunky dance hall singer named Holly Ann Mercy, fought the hellish creatures for 3 days until only the stout-hearted saloon girls remained. So let's take a closer look at this brave and spirited young woman. Now we'll take a closer look at the town. Masthead is a large general town with no specialty, but is known throughout the region as a peaceful place to live, work, or visit. This trait awards the heroes the ability to heal 1 horror damage at the end of each day in town. And this was a function of our town traits chart. I made a roll on that, the result was a 20. The town is composed of the before mentioned Shooting Star Saloon, along with a sheriff's office, blacksmith, Indian trading post, docks office, frontier outpost, gambling hall, and street market. Well, with the preliminaries completed, let's get Season 5 underway with a town stay in Masthead. The date is February 1st, 1884, and the posse has arrived in the town with some good news. Now, unfortunately, I didn't have the alternate sculpts for the female versions of the Gunslinger. So I'm going to be substituting in the Saloon Girl, and she's going to be representing Skye Jones, the Gunslinger. So we'll begin our town stay by drawing our daily event. That's revealed to be looking for work. Many new faces have arrived in town recently, and they all seem eager to make a name for themselves. All allies cost $50 less each, minimum $50 for the rest of this town stay. All right. Next up, we're going to select our lodging, and I think all 3 are going to get rooms in the hotel. So we'll place them all there and deduct $10 from their bankrolls. Step 3 is our visit town locations. We can either visit any of the 8 town locations, rest, and we can recover D3 wounds or sanity damage, or attempt to initiate a NPC interaction. That'll cost us 1 grit, and we'd have to roll a die on a 4 to 6. We'd initiate a random personal or town NPC encounter. Now I'll take a little time and I'll plan out our moves within the town. Well, after thinking about the moves, I've decided on the following. I'm going to move Ray to the gambling hall, where he's going to purchase some whiskey and some fine cigars. Skye is going to visit the street market, and she's hoping to pick up some Far Eastern potions. And finally, Eve is going to visit the campsite, and she's going to try to pick up some whiskey there. We'll begin by resolving Eve's stay at the campsite. Here's her 2d6 roll on the location event chart. Result is a 5. It says step right up. Marius Flanagan is the name, and I've got a show for you. A small traveling circus is in town, and they have set up a tent at the campsite to wow the locals and travelers. Wandering into the tent, you see a good show with the strongman, sword swallowers, and even a dancing bear. It's not cheap though. Pay D6 times $20 and you may recover 1 grit. Well, I think she'll pass on that option because she's already at 2 grit, with her maximum grit being 2. So that won't help her out very much. So I think what she will do is she's going to spend $50 and purchase a bottle of whiskey. So we'll give Eve a bottle of whiskey, and she's going to add that into her side bag. And that's going to complete her stay at the campsite. Next up is Ray, and he is at the gambling hall. We'll make his location event roll. And he rolls a 5, and it says, "Sorry, mister. A drunken patron bumps into you as they stumble toward the door. Patting your pockets as you turn around, you realize that something is missing. You must lose $200, 2 darkstone, or 1 gear or 1 artifact." And unfortunately, it looks like Ray is going to be robbed of $115 in cash. Oh my goodness, not a good start. Well, he doesn't have any money with which to purchase any cigars or anything else, so I guess that's going to end his stay at the gambling hall. And finally, we've got Skye Jones, and she's at the street market. We'll have a roll for her with the location event chart. She rolls a 6, and that's hogs and horse thieves. Dark and foreboding, the back alleys of the street market stink of fish and filth. Smells like home. No event. All right, she's going to wander around the street market, and I think what she's going to do is, for a cost of $75, she's going to get a Far Eastern potion. And that's going to allow her to raise her any one of her attributes by 2 for the remainder of the turn. And I think that might be helpful for her. So we'll give Skye a potion. She'll add that to her side bag, and she'll return back to the hotel. And at the end of the day, the gang meets back at the hotel, and they discuss what type of rumors they heard. And it ends up that they've heard some rumors about a City of the Ancients mission called City of the Ancients. Let's go to the campaign map and find out where that mission is available. Roll was a 10, and that's going to place that City of the Ancients mission at the Devil's Fingers. All right, step number 5 is the end of day step. Now, normally, since this is a peaceful town, each of the heroes would be able to heal 1 sanity damage at the end of the day. Well, fortunately, none of us have any health or sanity damage, so we'll go on to make our check for town event. Our marker's at 1, so only on a roll of 1 will we have a town event. Roll is a 5, so there'll be no town event. And step 6 is we have to decide if we're going to stay in town or ride out. And I think we've exhausted pretty much all of our options in the town for right now. It was unfortunate that Ray got robbed like that. $115 at this point in the game is a lot of money. But he did. So we're going to make our way to the campaign map and start some overland travel. Well, without a doubt, I think our best option is to make our way to Mount LaPointe and attempt to find that lost city. The other missions are going to be subject to possible completion by others, but not this one as long as we prioritize this mission. So I think that's what we're going to do. So we're going to make our way, I think, through Fort Burke, Fringe, Seraphin, and eventually, hopefully, get to Mount LaPointe. So we're going to start our overland travel, and we will begin by a movement from Masthead towards Fort Burke. So we'll move our pawn onto that road that is bisecting those two, and we're making our way towards Fort Burke. Now we don't have to enter these locations as we go. We can go around them. If there's a reason to go there, say if we needed supplies or anything, or to rest up, we could do that. But in this case, we're pretty much fresh, so we'll probably end up bypassing a lot of these towns and just try to concentrate on getting to Mount LaPointe. So we're going to be traveling on a light brown travel path. So we'll go through our overland travel sequence. We've already selected our travel path, and that's going to be the light brown. So we'll be using the light brown column. And I think I'm going to select Eve to be our guide. She has the highest lore value at 5, and we're going to need that when we do get to Mount LaPointe to find that entrance into that hidden chamber. So we're going to appoint her as the guide, and Ray and Skye will follow behind in the posse box. Our current supply level from the start of the campaign is moderate, so we'll be having a D8 die available for our supply rolls. We've selected our guide, so we're going to have Eve determine our pace. And I think Eve is going to select a normal pace, so we'll be using the center column instructions for normal pace, and we're going to be traveling on that light brown column, which is the recognized trail. Our next step is the supply check. So she's going to make a D, in this case D8 roll, and on a result of 1 to 2, we're going to lose a supply level. We'll remain in supply, but our supplies would be dwindling. So we'll make the roll and see what happens. Here is the supply roll. Result is a 3, so we're good. We have not lost any supplies, and we maintain our supply level. And now we're going to make our travel hazard roll. We'll be rolling a D8, and there's one modifier we can use, and that's the posse is mounted. So we're going to gain +1 to the roll for that. Okay, here is the travel hazard roll. Result is a 6, and that's modified to a 7. So we'll check 7 on the light brown column, and that's 0. So there are no travel hazards for that first leg. So the posse has safely made its way to Fort Burke. We're going to go around Fort Burke. We don't want to enter that fort there's no reason for us to do that. So we're going to continue on with our travels, and we'll head towards the town of Fringe. So we'll be moving on that light brown piece there between Fort Burke and Fringe. So we'll keep the same arrangement we have for our guide, and she'll keep the same pace as normal, and we'll make our supply check now. We'll roll that D8 and see if we've lost any supply level. Result is a 6, so we're good. We'll maintain our D8 for supply purposes. And we'll make our hazard roll for this leg of the journey. D8 +1 for the mounted. Result is a 4, and that's modified to a 5. So a 5 with a light brown path. We're going to have to make 1 hazard roll on the hazard table. So we're going to make a D1000 roll, and that will be read in the order of red, white, and blue. And that will tell us the hazard that we have to encounter. Okay, here is the roll. And we've rolled 979. Let's see what that is. 979 is the Legend of the White Buffalo. The legend of the White Buffalo is found in most Native American tribal legends. Even a glimpse of one is said to be a sign of good fortune. All heroes may make a Spirit 6+ test. If you pass, permanently gain +1 to luck. Oh, that's outstanding. All right, well, let's do that. We'll begin with our guide, Eve. She currently has a luck value of only 1, though, so she'll get 1 die, and she'll need a 6+ for a success. Here's the roll. She rolls a 5, so no luck there. All right, we'll move on now to Ray. He has a luck value of 2, so he'll get 2 dice to roll for the check. And he's also looking for a 6. And no, he's got a 1 and a 4. Finally, we've got Skye Jones, and she has a luck of 4. So she'll be rolling 4 dice and looking for a 6 to gain her permanent increase in her luck. Okay, here is the roll. And she did it. She's got the 6s. That's going to permanently increase her luck by 1 up to 5. That is fantastic. All right, so I've permanently marked Skye with 5 luck now. And now we'll finish up with our heal abilities and tokens. Well, none of us are really there's no injuries or anything that we can gain from doing that. So I think we will just proceed with the next course of our overland travel. So the posse has successfully reached Fringe, and we're going to bypass Fringe, so we'll go on the outside of that. And now we're going to head towards Seraphim. This will be on a light gray path. Well, that is a slightly easier path to travel. That is either paralleling a rail line or a well-traveled trail. All right, now we're going to be heading towards Seraphim, and we're going to keep the same organization that we've got with Eve as the guide, and she'll keep the same travel pace. And now we'll do our supply check. Result is a 1, so we have failed the supply check. That's going to drop us now from moderate supply level down to minimal, so we'll have to replace that die with a D6. So we'll replace that supply die with a D6. It's going to make the future rolls a little more difficult to pass. And now we're going to make our travel hazard roll. We're on a gray path this time, and we're still gaining +1 for the mounted posse. So we'll make our roll and see what happens. Here is the roll. Roll is a 1, and it's modified to a 2. So a 2 on a gray path is 1 hazard. Now we've rolled a natural 1, and that means that when a natural 1 is rolled, we have to check for mission completion of the active missions on the overland travel board. I should say on the campaign map. Now we were at a normal pace, so it says here that mission completion checks will use a D6. We're going to be rolling a D6 for each of the active missions. Not for this special mission, though. And on a result of 1, that mission is considered to be completed by other adventurers, and it will not be available to us. I've made the required rolls, and it ends up that the search party mission in Gregor's Gulch was completed by others. Now this is a basic mission, so that's going to go back into the draw pile. If it was a standard mission, such as the City of the Ancients mission, that one is out of the campaign forever. So we'll place that back into our draw cup. And now we're going to resolve that hazard that we have to find out about, and we'll be rolling the D1000 again. Here's the roll. That time the result is 584. 584. Hazard 584 is entitled Spectre of the Gun. The restless spirit of a murderous gunslinger that was hanged by a group of vigilantes appears before the posse, seeking his vengeance upon the living. Each hero must make a Spirit 3+ test. If passed, they resist the effects of the specter. If they fail, the ghost of the murderous thug curses the hero, and they take D3 corruption hits, ignoring willpower. All right, we'll start the tests with Eve, our guide. She currently has a spirit value of 3. So she's looking for a 3 or better on 3 dice. And she's done it. She's got a 3, 5, and 6, so no problems there. She's able to resist that specter. We'll move on now to Ray, and he currently has a spirit of 3 as well. So he'll be rolling 3 dice for the test. And he's passed it, but barely. He rolled a 5, and that's enough to pass it. Finally, we've got Skye Jones, and she has a spirit of only 2 though. So she'll be rolling 2 dice. And here's her roll. And she barely passed it. She's got a 3, just enough to resist the effects of the specter. All right. So the posse has successfully made their way to the outskirts of Seraphin. And we have to make a decision whether we want to stop off in Seraphin before we make our final move towards Mount LaPointe. And we really don't have very much cash on hand, so I think we're going to bypass Seraphin and make our way down towards Mount LaPointe. And I think the posse is going to bypass Seraphin, and we'll just continue on with our travels. We have an orange path now that we have going towards our destination of Mount LaPointe. That's going to be a trail with rough terrain. All right, we've selected our travel path for this final leg, and that's an orange path. We'll keep the guide as Eve, and she'll keep the same travel pace, I believe. Yeah, I think we better. We're down to a D6. That's minimal supply. So she'll keep a normal pace, and we'll do our supply check, and we'll see what happens now. We're going to fail on a 1 or 2, and we're using a D6, so the odds are increased. Roll is a 3, so we're good. We've managed to keep our minimal supply level. And next is going to be our travel hazards roll. This time we are on an orange path, which is going to be a little more difficult. So we'll be rolling a D8 and adding 1 for the mounted posse. Here is the roll. The roll is a 1, and it's modified to a 2. A 2 on an orange path is 3 hazards. Oh no. Plus we've rolled a natural 1. And that means we're going to have to check for mission completion on the campaign board. I've made rolls for the basic mission, Seal the Void Gate up in the Hellmouth, and the City of the Ancients mission in the Devil's Fingers. Both of those are fine. They have not been completed by others. So we'll move on now to doing our 3 hazards. And here is our first of 3 hazards. That time we rolled 734. Hazard 734 is horse traders. You meet a group of men moving a large herd of horses to the markets in Colorado and Utah. They offer to sell you some for cash. Each hero may purchase a horse for $50. Roll up the breed and traits using the tables provided in the horse traits rule. Well, we don't have money for that, unfortunately. It would have been a good opportunity to replace those 2 mounts that we have with the weak trait and the tender trait, but we don't have the cash for that. So we'll move on now to our second hazard. Here's hazard roll number 2. That time we rolled 637. Hazard 637 is escaped prisoner. The posse meets up with the U.S. Marshal and his 6 deputies. They are searching for a dangerous criminal who escaped while he was being transported to prison. If the posse contains any heroes with the keyword law, the posse must aid the Marshal in his search for the prisoner. Any hero with the keyword law must make a combined Cunning 5+, Luck 5+ test. If 2 or more successes are achieved, the test is successful and the posse tracks down the convict, earning each hero 40 XP. Otherwise, the hazard has no effect on the posse. Well, we don't have any keyword law, so that one will not apply to us. We have 1 hazard remaining to resolve. And the final hazard for the day is 609, 609. Hazard 609 is a massacre. The bodies of at least a dozen prospectors are strewn around several overturned wagons. The bodies are in a state of advanced decomposition, so you know this happened some time ago. The wagons have been picked clean and nothing of value remains. However, you find a sigil painted in blood on one of the wagons. If any member of the posse has the keyword tribal, they know that this is the sign of the dreaded Black Fang tribe. Heroes with the keyword tribal gain 25 XP, and the posse gains +1 to their next overland travel roll. If no members of the posse have the keyword tribal, choose a hero to make a lore 6+ test. If passed, they recognize the sigil as it belongs to the Black Fang tribe. That hero gains 15 XP. Well, the hero with the highest lore value is Eve, and she has a lore value of 5. So she's going to make a lore test with 5 dice, and we'll see if she can get a 6 or greater. That'll earn her some XP. So she'll be rolling 5 dice for the test. Here is her roll. And she's successful. She's got the 6, and that says that if passed, they recognize the sigil as belonging to the Black Fang tribe. The hero gains 15 XP. That's our first XP of the campaign, and we'll award that to Eve. And so the posse arrives at Mount La Pointe, and they're going to be able to make a search roll to see if they can find the entrance to that lost city. And our prerequisites for the quest say that to locate the entrance, the guide must pass a lore 5+ test while the posse is in the Mount La Pointe adventure location. If the test is passed, go to the setup. If the test has failed, the posse may remain at the adventure location and attempt to look for the entrance, making the lore test once during each travel cycle. So we'll attempt to find the entrance, and since Eve is our guide, she has the highest lore value. She has a lore value of 5, so we'll have her try to find the entrance. She's going to roll 5 dice, and she's looking for a value of 5 or greater. Okay, here is her roll. And she's done it easily. No problems there, so we have found the entrance to that lost city. I realized that the dice tray was out of the frame, and this is the results here. We had 2 6s, a 5, and a 2. All right, so we have found the entrance to the lost city, and I think we are going to pick that up in the next episode. This will be a good opportunity where to break this video. Now, the setup instructions state that we're going to start the mission on the standard map entrance tile. So that is where we'll be starting with the next episode. And that will about wrap this video up. Thank you so much for joining me at the Solo Gamers Club for this new season of Alone in the Shadows of Brimstone. I'd like to invite you back for episode 2, where the posse is going to enter the lost city of Sitapila. We'll see if they can find that treasure room. Thanks so much for watching, and thank you for the likes and subscriptions. Hope to see you again next time, and in the meantime, have a nice evening.